Hello everyone, welcome back. I hope you're all enjoying the learning so far. Now let's try to understand what we are going to learn as part of day 6. In our previous lecture, we have configured a tool called SonarQube, and then we have integrated SonarQube with Jenkins in order to automate static code analysis check. So now we are going to extend our CICD implementation. So we are going to set up a tool called Nexus, and we are going to integrate Nexus with our CICD process. So that is exactly what we are going to learn as part of today's lecture. So let's quickly go through the agenda. So we are going to learn what do you mean by binary repository manager and why do we need them, and what are various binary repository management tools out there in the market, and what is Sonar-type Nexus, and how we can set up Nexus on Ubuntu, and how we can integrate Nexus from our Jenkins build job, and how we can automate uploading our build artifacts into Nexus. So that is exactly what we are going to learn as part of this lecture. So let's get started. So what do you mean by binary repository manager? So binary repository manager is nothing but, so just like how you have GitHub or Bitbucket for storing your source code, isn't it? Where you can version control your source code. Similarly, you can also do that for your build artifact as well. It's kind of a centralized place for storing your build artifacts and then your libraries and so on. So it is going to act like a digital warehouse. If you look at this diagram, let's say that you have configured your CA server, so which is going to check out the code from version control system, is going to perform, build and perform all code quality check, and finally it is going to build an artifact. So where do you think you're going to store them? You need to have proper place to store your build artifact, isn't it? Not just that, once you build your build artifact, you should be able to deploy that into as many times you want. So that's the beauty of using your binary repository manager. And binary repository manager very well can be integrated with any popular CI/CD tools. And binary repository manager would also provide you enhanced security and compliance as well. For example, it would not allow anyone to upload build artifact into your binary repository manager, right? It would give proper access control for you. Similarly, it would not allow anyone to download a build artifact from the binary repository manager. And it can also perform various security scanning of your build artifact as well as your libraries. And then it will also act as a external repository, and it can also proxy external repositories as well. For example, let's say you are trying to download libraries from Maven repository, so you can use binary repository manager as a proxy for your external repository. So basically, binary repository manager plays such a crucial role as part of DevOps ecosystem. There are various binary repository management tools out there in the market, but I just highlighted top 6 over here. So you can use Artifactory from a company called JFrog, and you can use Nexus repository from a company called Sonar-type, and GitHub also have their own repository manager as well called GitHub packages. And then AWS also have their own binary repository management tool called Code Artifact, and then Azure also have something called Azure Artifacts. Similarly, you can also use Google Artifact Registry for storing your build artifact inside Google Cloud as well. So now let's try to understand what is Nexus. So Nexus is a binary repository manager, and using Nexus, you can store your build artifact built from various build tools such as Maven, NPM, NuGet, and so on. In fact, you can also store your Docker image as well in Nexus. And Nexus also provides you good access control and then security compliance. For example, it would not allow anyone to upload build artifact into Nexus. And Nexus also have a tool for scanning your build artifact as well as libraries for finding any vulnerability issues. And Nexus can be very well integrated with all the CI/CD tool for pushing the artifact as well as pulling the artifact as well. And Nexus also can act as a proxy for remote repository, and then it also has a caching ability as well. Now let's quickly understand how Nexus can be integrated with Jenkins. So if you look at this diagram, let's say developer develops a code commits the code into GitHub. Let's say they are working on a Java based application. So they are depending on bunch of libraries. So they can very well download those dependencies from Nexus, and it would also create a local repository in their local machine. So remember we talked about caching. So they don't have to, download every time from Nexus repository. And then once they commit the code, Jenkins is going to perform the build. And then Jenkins can download the dependencies and then it can build the artifact. And then Jenkins would upload the artifact into Nexus repository as well, right? So this is a typical, integration, Nexus integration with Jenkins. All right. So now let's see that in action. So I'm going to show you how we can set up Sonatype Nexus and then how we can integrate from our Jenkins build job. For that, we have to first configure Nexus. So let's quickly go through the prerequisite. We need to have brand new Ubuntu EC2 instance, and we need to have 4 gigabytes of RAM, and we have to open port number 8081 in the security firewall rule. And then we have to install Docker Compose. Once again, there are various ways you can install Nexus, but we are going to use Docker Compose, very similar to our SonarQube setup. All right. So now let's go ahead and then log in into AWS console and then create a brand new EC2 instance for setting up Nexus. So this is my AWS console. So I'm going to launch an instance, Ubuntu 22.04. So that's the AMI I wanted to use. And we have to have 4 gigabytes of memory. And I'm going to use my existing keys. And then the default port number for Nexus is port number 8081. Fantastic. And 18 gigabytes. And then I'm going to use GP3. Fantastic. So that's it, right? So this should create a brand new EC2 instance. So let's quickly connect to it. I'm going to open my item here. Copy the SSH URL. So I'm connected to Nexus EC2 instance. So let's get back to our instructions. So let's start with changing the host name. Type exit and then log back again. Fantastic. So now let's start our installation. So I'm going to start with the sudo apt update. Let's make sure that this machine has all the latest software packages. And then we are going to go ahead and then install Docker Compose. The reason why we are using Docker Compose is it is going to simplify our Nexus installation. Otherwise, you will have to configure Nexus through a manual way, which I'm not a big fan because you'll have to perform various commands. So one of the quickest way to configure Nexus is using Docker Compose. Okay. So let me install Docker Compose. So whenever you install Docker Compose, that would also install Docker as well. So I'm going to show you right now. Fantastic. And you can see right now, Docker is there, right? And then you can also see Docker Compose also there. Fantastic. Let me clear the screen. So now let's go ahead and then add Ubuntu user to the Docker group so that you can perform Docker commands without using sudo. If you want to take this into effect, type exit, log back again. Fantastic. So now let's go ahead and then create this Docker Compose file. So let me perform this command. So I'm going to go ahead and then copy this XML file. So this should take care of setting up Nexus. So if you see here, this is the Docker image, right? So which will be downloaded from Docker Hub. And this is the default port number. So I'm mapping my, and this is the default port number 8081. So I'm mapping to run on same port number. And this is where all the volumes, right? This is where all the data will be persisted. Fantastic. And then restart always means even though you restart this EC2 instance, it is going to automatically start your Nexus application, which is running inside the Docker container. Fantastic. Let me save this. So now let's go ahead and then set up Nexus using Docker Compose. So I'm actually running in a detached mode. Enter. There you go. So right now it is in the process of downloading Sonatype Nexus image from Docker Hub. Awesome. If you wanted to check whether Sonatype Nexus is running or not, you can perform this particular command just to check the logs. Let me clear the screen. Fantastic. So right now it is in the process of coming up. Wow, there you go, guys. So we are able to see that Sonatype Nexus is started already. So let's go to AWS console and then get the public DNS name. So this is the public DNS name. Open up a new tab, :8081. So right now it is in the process of coming up. So now let's try to log in into Nexus. Click on here. There you go. If you see here, the username is admin. So how do you get the password? So the password is located in this location on the server. But we are running as a Docker container, right? So we'll have to log in into the Nexus Docker container. So when you type this command, it's going to show you your container information, isn't it? So this is the image name, this is the container ID, right? So all we have to do is, we just need to log in inside the Docker container. So let's do that. So for that, you're going to use the docker exe command. You can also avoid sudo as well. Remember, we already took care of that. Let me not use sudo. Docker exe, and then you're going to say interactive minus it, and then whatever the image name or the container name, and then you just need to provide the location. So you have to use the cat command. Wow, there you go. So that is the password, guys, for our Nexus. So that's the Nexus admin password, which is kind of a, so that's the Nexus admin password. So which is our one-time password, right? So as soon as you enter this, it is going to ask you to reset your Nexus admin password. So let's go back to Nexus. Let's enter the password and click on sign in. There you go. Now it is asking us to configure Nexus. Click on Nexus. So this is where we have to configure our admin password. Okay. So click on next. Click on next. Let's agree the user agreement. So let's agree on end user license agreement. Go all the way down. Click on agree. And we don't have to enable anonymous access. So let's click on disable anonymous access and click on next. Awesome. And click on finish. Fantastic. There you go, guys. So that is our Sonatype Nexus repository running in AWS cloud. So what do you think would be the next step? All we have to do is, go ahead and integrate with Jenkins. And before that, let's just browse through few, links here. Click on browse. So there you go. So whatever the repository that you are actually seeing here, these are all the repository out of the box from Nexus itself. Since we are actually building a Java-based application using Maven, we are going to leverage one of these three repositories. Okay, fantastic. So now let's get back to Nexus. So how do you think you can integrate Nexus with Jenkins? Obviously, we'll have to install plugins. Let's go to Manage Jenkins. Go to Available Plugin. So search for Nexus. There you go. So we are going to install this particular plugin. Click on Install. Fantastic. Our plugin got installed. So now what you can do is either you can configure your existing job or you can create brand new job. Since we have already configured, I'm going to go ahead and then, integrate in the existing job itself. So click on the job name and go to configure and go to build steps. Click on add build step. You should be able to see Nexus Artifact Uploader. Click on this link. So that's it, right? We just need to configure all this information. So it is asking for the Nexus version. So we all know, right? If you actually go back to Nexus, So you can see the Nexus version here, which is 3.81. So let's go back to Jenkins and then select Nexus 3, and protocol is fine. And then it is asking for the Nexus URL. So this is our Nexus URL. Copy it and don't provide anything after port number, and then you don't have to provide the protocol. And it is asking for credentials. So remember, we have already configured our admin credentials in Nexus. So we'll have to enter that. Click on add Jenkins. The username is admin and password is the admin password that you have configured, and click on add. And most importantly, select that from the drop down. Fantastic. So let's go back to our pom.xml file for our Java project and click on the pom.xml file. So if you see here, you pretty much see all the information that you need for integrating with Nexus. So it is asking for the group ID. You can get that from line number 4. So copy that. And it is asking for the version. We are going to use the snapshot version, since this is just for the CI and then demo purposes. If you're actually creating a release, then you'll have to use the release version. Okay. And then the packaging. And then the repository. I'll come back to packaging in a minute. A repository. So we are going to upload our WAR file into one of these repositories. So we are going to use Maven snapshot, Maven snapshots. So enter that and then click on add. So it is asking for the artifact ID. So go back to pom.xml file. You can get that. That is actually nothing but the name of the WAR file. Type is WAR. You can see that over here. Tani. And classifier, you can leave it empty, and then it is asking for the file. So remember guys, I did tell you guys earlier from where you're going to get this from the workspace. So we all know the drill, right? So you can also see that. Let me first save this. If I can show you in the console output, right? So click on any of the previous successful job. If you go to console output, so you would be able to see the location of the WAR file. So we are already here, right? And we are already in the workspace. This is the build job name, and you just have to provide from there. All right. So let's get back to configure, build steps. Fantastic. Okay. And then rest everything is good. Make sure you are updating your Tomcat URL. So this is the latest Tomcat URL. Make sure you update that. Okay, fantastic. And then we are also integrating with SonarQube as well. So make sure you also enter that URL as well. And then over here. So let me make sure that is updated. So that's my SonarQube URL. Fantastic. So now all we have to do is, go ahead and then click on build now. You can build manually, or you can also build through webhooks. You can build manually, or you can also build through webhooks, however you want to perform build. So let me click on build now. So as you can see right now, it is in the process of downloading all the Maven dependencies. It is also performing SonarQube scan as well. Wow. Do you all see here? So it was able to upload the WAR file into Maven. Can you all see here? 100% completed. So how do you verify whether the WAR file got uploaded into Maven? So let's get back to Nexus. So how do you verify the WAR file got uploaded inside Nexus repository? So let's get back into Nexus. Go to browse, click on Maven snapshots. Wow. Do you all see here? So based on the timestamp, it will create the WAR file and then it would upload over here. And whenever you perform a new build, it would automatically create a new WAR file and then it would also put a new timestamp as well. So let's quickly validate this one. Fantastic. So now let's go ahead and then make a code change. So I'm going to go back to my Jenkins EC2 instance where I have configured our code. So let me perform git pull first. Oh, let me log in inside the repository and then let me perform git pull. Fantastic. So now let's navigate to where we have downloaded the code. I'm going to say we are integrating with. Fantastic. Let me save this. Git add. And then git push. Fantastic. So I was able to upload the code changes into GitHub remote repository. So now, as you can see here, the webhooks have triggered the Jenkins job. So you can clearly see here, the build started due to our GitHub push change. Fantastic. So we can also see our latest commit message. Wow. The WAR file have been uploaded into Nexus. So let me get back into Nexus. Wow. Do you all see here? And same thing, if we also go into Tomcat, we should be able to see our code changes. Wow. So this is how, guys, you can successfully integrate Nexus from your Jenkins build job in order to upload the build artifacts. I hope this lecture was really useful. I'm really looking forward to meet you all in the next lecture. Thank you so much.